Bandwidth provided by Recursive Squirrel Interactive. Visit them on the web at recursivesquirrel.com. Episode 630, Dateline Scott. For Monday, March 29th, 2021. It's time for this week's edition of the BeanCast, a weekly discussion about the news and issues facing marketers today. I'm your host, Bob Norton. Thanks for joining us. When we hear about China in business news, it's seemingly always portrayed as a powerful economic adversary. But this past week, P&G's Mark Pritchard cast them as his company's greatest marketing inspiration. What did he mean? Tonight, we'll discuss. Also, the importance of experience in retail, whether a flood of TV ads is coming soon, why transparency is Facebook's worst-case scenario, plus this week's Fair, Fail, Foul. That's the lineup. Let's meet tonight's panel. Thanks for joining us for this week's BeanCast. I'm Bob Norp, and with me on the panel for this evening, we start with the founder and creative director of C-Spot Run Productions, entrepreneur, podcaster, and inspiration to us all, Ms. Wendy Cooper. Hey, Wendy.
Hey, Bob. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Now, next, she's the CEO of podcast network Twit.tv. We say hello to Ms. Lisa Laporte. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Bob. It's great to be back.
Great to have you. Now, also with us, we have the founder and principal at Scott Monty Strategies, Mr. Scott Monty. Hey, Scott.
Hello, Bob.
Hello to you. And finally, we have the chief brand and marketing officer at GRK Fresh Greek, as well as a board member at Mashburn Enterprises, Mr. Jonathan Sackett. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Bob. I'm a little disappointed in the other guests, but we can keep moving. Wow. Huh?
That's a bomb. That felt like a lead balloon.
Wow. All right.
Well, with that note, we might as well jump into the topics, and hopefully Jonathan can talk a lot because nobody else will want to engage in conversation with him.
They're going to be ignoring me now, damn it.
Now, Mark Pritchard, if you don't know, he's the CMO at Procter & Gamble. This past week, he claimed that China is the future focus of the company, or should we say China is the future of the company in terms of marketing innovation and global trends. Now, even though they're still their second biggest market, they're the second biggest market for P&G, he believes that the pace of digital transformation there is a clear indication of what will soon overtake marketers everywhere. And Scott, I want you to parse this for us. I mean, first, do you agree? And second, what do we do about it if you do agree? What's going on here?
Well, look, there's no question that China is a market to watch for a lot of reasons. But certainly in terms of marketing innovation, it makes sense. And quite frankly, I'm surprised that it's taken us this long to figure it out. You look at the rise of Tencent and Baidu with, their, Swiss Army knife of apps over there that seemingly do everything. The things that Facebook has been trying to play catch up with, where you've got e-commerce built in and messaging and social networks and on and on and on. When so much is wrapped up in single entities like this in China, you would expect there to be the kind of digital transformation and innovation that needs catching up with. And whereas here, it's for the most part been more dispersed and held obviously in different companies' hands and in different industries' hands, we, particularly in the mobile marketing space, have a lot to catch up with. And everything is mobile these days. I don't think of mobile as a separate entity, as a separate vertical. But that's what's been driving China for so long. Add to that, just the acceleration that we've seen over the last year or so. I think it makes great sense that P&G is making a move in this space. As to
I wanted to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Before you go too much further, I wanted to really narrow down on that mobile aspect of things. I mean, do you really believe that mobile is the driving force across the board for why China is such a leader in marketing? Is it mobile driving this, or is it other factors as well?
Yeah, well, I think mobile is probably the leading factor in it. I'm sure there are other factors that I may not be aware of, but I think that's the one that comes to my attention the most. Particularly through players like Tencent and Baidu. Their apps have really driven a lot of this innovation, and the innovation. You look at what's happened with players like TikTok that have come out of China, and other apps that have been trying to play catch up. I think that's probably 80% of the driving force behind this, because China is a mobile first market.
Yeah, absolutely. What does everybody else think about this?
I love this topic.
Oh,
I
good.
love it.
Good. Tell us a little bit about what you're thinking here. What do you see as being the driving forces that are making P&G, a company like P&G, look at China and say this is where the future is in everything that we're going to do for marketing around the globe?
Well, first of all, I think it's mobile, yes, but I think it's more about 5G, right? And the 5G, the access with the 5G.
That's something else that he said in his comments. He really focused on both China and 5G in particular across the globe. So that's really insightful.
Yeah, because it makes what it does is, I don't know if you guys are aware, there are these live shopping pop shops, and one is called Pop-Up Live or Pop Live. It's an app, and anybody anywhere can actually have a live shopping. Be like, hi, I'm Wendy, and I'm here selling my Perrier bottle today, and I'm going to sell it to you for $3.95. And you want to know what's so special about it? And you literally are streaming live. You have your own little store, and you're streaming live and you're selling. And of course, you're selling. People are interacting in real time with you as you're doing this. And I think that that's also what he was talking about in the article, was their e-commerce is so strong, probably most of it done through mobile devices, right? And it's this 5G that's going to be driving this engagement directly with the consumer through things like these pop-up live shops. I can pull up the apps. I have them here. I try to follow them, but they're crazy people selling stuff live every day, and you get the notifications, kind of like Clubhouse, and it's wild. So this whole 5G, once it does take hold, is really going to change the landscape of everything I think we do in e-commerce, and it's going to be very immediate. And I think that P&G is in the right place because they're forward thinking. That's where it's happening, is in China. They're going there, they're learning there, they're absorbing, making money, and then they're bringing it back here because we will be behind the times, and they'll be right on time.
Oh, for sure. You know what's interesting, guys, is that so this, I wasn't surprised. I think I side with you guys on this. I don't think any of us are surprised by the article. What was interesting to me was I did see this coming a little while ago, and only because of this. China has a long history of reverse engineering things, and I got firsthand whiff of this a few years back. You guys might know Jamal, aside from owning tech companies and everything else, he also owns a series of Lexus dealerships. Well, what the Chinese government did a few years back was they took a series of Lexus cars, reverse engineered them, was able to duplicate them, and a cost of production of an $85,000 car for $15,000. Okay, now they've got rights to start shipping and marketing them in the U.S. So it was just a matter of time until they went from reverse engineering expensive products to be able to sell them completely cheap, and then get into marketing and understand how to market them to the United States. So,
yeah, when people talk about the economic engine of China, it really comes down to the people. I mean, there's so many people. They have so many people, and it's really a powerful engine when it comes to doing things like reverse engineering and manufacturing and all those factors. One of the things that Wendy brought up, though, in terms of the marketing potential that's coming out of there, is something we're going to talk a little bit more in our second topic about retail experience. But how important do you guys believe streaming is at the retail environment, at the retail level? And this is both online and physical retail, the ability to stream content and create an experience right in the aisle. Does that disintermediate retail, or does it enhance retail? Is it something that's giving the brands more power to go direct to the consumer, or is it just empowering the consumer in the store environment? What do you guys think?
Can you give an example, Bob? Like, paint me a picture.
Well, I mean, if you're in the retail aisle and you're able to stream the content right to your phone because you've got 5G and you're getting an experience that's enhancing the retail experience, but then you can order it right directly from your phone as well because they've enhanced the e-commerce engine. I mean, does that...
Well, but you're already in the retail store, so why wouldn't you just pick it up and buy it?
I don't know. I mean, it's just like I'm just.
I think that's
but I mean, you don't have to consider it entirely in the retail environment. I mean, it could be you're just out about and you're just the ability to stream content wherever you are. Does that drive you to the store, or does that get you to just buy the stuff online and get it delivered? Which is the future?
Don't ask me that question. I go to the store. I always go to the store, so I'll let somebody else answer that question.
I think it drives both. I think it drives both. I'm not a go to the store person, and I think having that ability to stream, mixing it in with the ability to actually go to the store, just order it. I think it's the options and giving people the choices that they're going to want. And I like those options. I mean, I do like to touch and feel things, but if I can stream walking through a store versus going to the store and then just pick out what I want and have it sent to me, I would go for it. And I think China is also the leading.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I didn't understand that. It was an experience at home that I'm actually in the store. That's what I'm streaming.
Well, yeah, you're able to try on clothes, you're able to see all the products, and you're able to do more, with AI than you can now. So you don't have to go to the store. If you can actually stream that experience versus actually physically being there. You were saying that you watch people, pitching their products and stuff. That doesn't make me want to get my car and drive to the store to try it. That makes me want to order it, and I'm able to see it and maybe put myself in those outfits. And I think China's leading, honestly, in a lot of levels because they plan. They're long-term planners. They're not American. We like to, do everything tomorrow. We don't really do long-term planning, and I'm referring to like years out. We're not really good at that. And I think that's where China's going to have the upper hand, is they're willing to take those risks and those chances. So I think, offering options to customers versus just going to a store, which I don't want to do, but if I can stream it and try it on and have it sent to me, I'm happy. That just, it eliminates my whole need to physically go to the store for, clothes or something.
Right. But I think it's also that it used to be the ping pong effect, right? So you'd go into the store so you could touch and feel, and then you can go to the internet and look for a cheaper price and have it delivered to you. I think what this is doing is we're talking more about a synergy of in-store and online experience where, not only can you, now I don't have to take the whatever I buy home, but you're also doing all the research around it, consumer reviews and things like that. So instead of the ping pong effect, it's more synergized hand in glove, I think.
Something we're kind of skirting around is that China, and the reason they're so advanced in location marketing and streaming and getting things to you on a mobile platform and all these different e-commerce solutions, a lot of that success that they've had in their market is because privacy is not an issue for them. I mean, they don't really worry about, maybe the rank and file do, but the government certainly doesn't worry about individual privacy. So is that a roadblock for some of the innovations coming from China, Scott? To be, we talk about China being a leader in this space, but how realistic are some of these innovations when you put it against GDPR or the CCPH? Or CCPH. I got that wrong entirely, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the USS Enterprise.
Yeah.
I think that's a great point, Bob. We don't really stop to think about the privacy implications of all this innovation necessarily when we see it just streaming out of China at the pace it does. But when you stop and think about it, just as you've noted, GDPR and California privacy laws in particular here in the U.S. and all of the scrutiny that big tech is getting right now, this may grind stuff to not a screeching halt, but to a slower pace than we need to keep competitive. And we really have to ask ourselves, is it worth being competitive with China on this level if there are that many issues with privacy that we have to give up?
Yeah, very true. Is that what do the rest of the panel feel about that? I mean, in the context of privacy, or should we be concerned about marketers looking at China and saying, yeah, we should do things more like China, considering that China is so...
I think that's a super loaded question, but I'd like to just try to answer what part of it.
Okay.
I think that the whole thing that's happening in China is in China, and that their privacy things are different. So just like, Clubhouse, right? China, that's a Chinese platform, correct? Agora or whatever it is, Chinese owned. And when the Chinese people tried to come onto Clubhouse, like, the Brazilians did, the Italians did, the UK did, they all started coming onto Clubhouse. Like within 3 days, they got shut down because I believe, now it's all kind of hearsay to me, but I saw them there, and then I heard that they got shut down, that they're not supposed to, the Chinese government doesn't want them on Clubhouse in the United States, right? Or on that platform for some reason. So I'm feeling as though perhaps this is all contained within China, right? This whole thing is happening within China, and the commerce and all of that is thriving within China because there are so many people and they are so progressive within. They do have this technology that they love to use. Doesn't mean that we're going to possibly do the same thing, but it doesn't mean that we can't go there, learn from it, prosper from it, and then bring some of that back here, which is what I think P&G is doing. And but I do believe most of it is all taking place within China, right? They're not infiltrating us over here with their ways.
Yeah, they may not be infiltrating us with their ways, but that's the point. I mean, it's just, if companies are looking to China for a role model per se for the future of marketing, how realistic is that, considering that we don't accept a lot of the behaviors that happen in the Chinese market? And so, you
would have to adjust. You'd have to adjust to the GDPR. You would have to adjust to our requirements. But maybe you take the best of what does work over there, and then you adjust it to what works here, and you find a balance, and it's a win-win.
Jonathan, do you have? Oh, go ahead, Scott. You were going to say something.
Well, I was just going to say, I would see how long their CMOs last over there. If they're out after 6 weeks, well, that's a problem. They're out after 18 months here. Is China doing better than we are with CMO retention?
I'm not sure that they are, considering that so many aspects of Alibaba are suddenly being nationalized by the Chinese government. So it is not looking good over there. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about the retail environment. The post-pandemic world of retail is undoubtedly going to be changed forever, and not always for the better. But one interesting trend is the move away from traditional shopping journeys to a more holistic journey across multiple media experiences toward making a buying decision. Much like what I described earlier, where you're going into the store and you'll be able to stream content about the product, and then you can compare shop, and then you can have it, buy it online, but have it shipped from the store. I mean, there's like so many different experiential levels that can be put into the retail environment, both physical and online. And the buyers are out there actively embracing this scenario. This is the kind of shopping they'd like to do. They don't just go to the website, like they don't just go to Amazon, shop and buy all the time. Sometimes they're going to multiple stores. Maybe they're hitting blogs. Maybe they're watching YouTube channels before they make a purchase decision. And brands are starting to get, wise to this and create experiences that are filled with richness at every touch point throughout the consumer journey. I mean, Lisa, do you agree this is going on? And how do brands need to adapt to this world where there's so many different touch points besides the retail experience in and of itself in terms of the buyer's journey toward purchase?
I already feel like we've pivoted towards this, and I think as of last year, it's even become more. That's how I shop. I mean, that's when I got this question, I was like, wow, okay, this works for me because it's how I shop. Do I feel that the explosion of e-commerce growth last year will put an end to brick and mortar? I don't think it will, but what I think you're going to see is more hybrid models as we are able to start move to be able to move around to where stores will start to offer more of an experiential feeling when you come in. It won't just be somebody at the checkout counter and you can't find anyone to help you. There's going to be more people, I feel, they're going to be customer facing for when you do want to go into a store. And before the pandemic hit, Amazon already started to do this. I went to an Amazon store in Marin County and I was able to walk in. You're able to touch things. You can either buy it right there in the store on your Amazon app. You couldn't really just take it out of there. It was really just like a showcase room. So I really, my personal feeling is not only are brands going to be, across multiple platforms, hitting you on social media, maybe even through, your journalism that you're consuming, however you're consuming content, you're going to also receive those ads. You can try things on in an app, but I think you're going to see more and more hybrid stores where you're going to see the storage rooms in the back are converted for online, fulfillment. Whereas when you walk into a store, it's maybe more of an experience versus, you just go shopping and you're checking out. So I don't think brands should feel that the retail store will be closed, but they should pivot. They should be more open to these hybrid models where they're able to touch points either in a store or in a virtual world. So I really think, yes, brands need to pay attention. They need to pivot. I don't think this is going to kill the brick and mortar store, but it's going to pivot it to be more of an experience. Like you can show up to Macy's and be picking up what you're buying. Maybe you can shop more there and have a glass of wine and just sit there and have a virtual experience unless you saw something you like and they can bring it to you. So I think you're going to see more and more of these hybrid places where there's other things going on. You're already seeing it with movie theaters. They've added food and wine. You're going to start to see this, I feel, in retail stores as well, but I don't think the brick and mortar will go fully away.
Yeah, when you talk about that kind of experience, that's what New York has had for some time. I mean, the Macy's in New York, there are bars and restaurants. The same with Bloomingdale's. I mean, there are so many different experiential elements to these shopping environments that maybe could be rolled out across the country and might increase the ability to attract people into the retail environment. Yeah, and I like how you pointed out that this isn't the typical end of brick and mortar discussion. I mean, this is about enhancing the brick and mortar experience as well as adapting to an online world where people are actively shopping via the internet and ordering and having it delivered. It's also, these experiences are also attracting people to the store. Jonathan, what's your feel on all this? I mean, you're in a retail environment, you're dealing with these types of questions. I mean, albeit in a restaurant environment, it's still a very retail experience. How are you using technology to enhance the experience for customers at every stage of the journey toward purchasing a meal?
Well, yeah, and remember we're moving to grocery stores as well. So, that involves everything from packaging, package design, aisle design, et cetera. But I think, I agree with everything that Wendy said, but I would also add to that is that, the power of influence marketing, social, is huge. So we can't think of any one thing in isolation of another. So if people are doing what we know they're doing at the retail, at the outlet, at the store level, what they're doing is they're doing a lot of research prior to getting there and once they get there. So you can't ever underestimate the power of that people are doing reviews, ratings, things like that, so that it's not just somebody going into a store, doing their research on their phone, buying it and shipping it. It's, well, here's what I didn't like about it, or here's what I did like about it, and then that snowballs, and then that influences what people are doing. So for us, for example, my biggest hurdle is now I think we all know this. I'm not Greek, but yet I part own a chain of Greek restaurants. Well, the thing about it is, and we're rapidly expanding, is that everybody knows what a taco is, everybody knows what pasta is, but Greek food, the names of the Greek food, and the education of the products that we have is more of the hurdle for me. So with the new, now you got to remember, I've renamed the company. I just haven't unleashed it yet. My board meeting is tomorrow afternoon, and that's where I'm unleashing the new name and everything else and the new brand. But what it's going to come down to is, how do you get over the hurdle of education while entertaining people? You know, if you look at the past at the work that we did with Geico and Skittles and everything, it was about entertainment. Now, if you take a look at it holistically and say, okay, drunk history is a way to educate people while entertaining them. So I'm not saying that I'm going to create a drunk history, but we have to find, and I think I have found, a way to entertain people at the barrier level to say, this is what this is. What are these products? What's in it? Why is the Mediterranean diet so much healthier? And here's what the products are named, and here's what's in them. But you like I said, I'm sure all of us have ordered a taco or a burrito or, you know, any type of ethnicity food. It's just Greek is the least known because there is no national chain, which is what we're becoming right now. It's
Jonathan, nobody can taste it through the package, right? So the package is everything.
That's right. That's right. It's got to be, you know, it's got to be intriguing enough while educating you as to what it is and why it's better. So without trying it, yeah.
I hope you name it Opa.
And then I'm going to have a big mustache on. It's going to be great.
One of the things that's kind of a subtext to this conversation, which I love, is the fact that we're not just talking about digital here. I mean, Scott, when you think about retail and enhancing retail environment and creating great experiences, the first thing that comes to mind for most marketers is, you know, digital applications, you know, whether or not it's streaming in the aisles or content on the shelves or video monitors or what have you. But this revolution is much bigger than just digital, isn't it? I mean, this is a rethinking of retail from the ground up, right?
Oh, it really is. And I mean, look, the last year, amount of time that we've been on hiatus, basically, from the crush at the stores. I know everyone who does go back to the stores is doing so with great deliberation. It should remind us of all the tactile things that we are missing in the interim, the things that you can't replicate digitally, or the things digitally that might enhance an in-store experience on the flip side. But you know, in listening to my colleagues here talking about it, it can be an incredibly rich experience if done well. There's an opportunity here for those who are truly thinking about it from a 360-degree view to really make it quite the experience for the consumer. At the same time, this is a case, I think, of the haves and the have-nots. Not every company is going to be able to afford to do what a Macy's or a Nordstrom might do. Certainly what Amazon is doing. There are some firms that will be able to barely get by if they try a hybrid approach because it'll just be stretching their resources too thin. So I think they're going to have to make some very hard choices about where they prioritize and what actually matters most to their customer base. And it could be, you know, like Walmart has focused a lot in the last few years on their app and making their app a much more user-friendly kind of thing. And, you know, they view Amazon as their big rival, and yet they still have all these brick and mortar locations that are the backbone of the company.
And as been mentioned, as it's been mentioned as well, Amazon is getting into the physical aspect of retail as well.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
The two are racing toward each other, really, from two different perspectives. And what's it mean? Well, it means great competition for consumers because we're going to have more choices now. And it also means that, you know, you don't have to go into the store. You can do pickup and delivery. You can order on an app and have it delivered to your home. You can, you know, have a whole variety of things. But the big players are the ones that are really going to benefit here by being able to offer the most choices.
I think, Scott, you need to host Dateline.
Yeah.
Doesn't he? The more I listen to this guy, I'm like, man, I can listen to this guy all day. Keep going, man.
I love it. I have a real quick thing. I really love, you know, being in consumer goods most of my adult life, it seems like. I always had a habit of perusing the aisles. I have to know what the competition is doing. I need to look at shelf space. There's just so many things that I look at, right, Jonathan, like the packaging and actually how's it going to sit on the shelf and what's the color and who am I up against and all of this stuff for my clients, right? And I love retail stores. I'm a D2C expert, though. So think about that. And here in Los Angeles, I have to tell you, I go into Target or I went into the Container Store. I went into Whole Foods, which is now Amazon, right? And we have Amazon stores all around me. I'm in El Segundo, Manhattan Beach. And there are so many people shopping. I think it's too early to really figure out how we are all going to be reacting to, let's just get it delivered, right? After living through a year of a pandemic. We might just as a human race shift our habits a little bit and maybe want to go out into the store and have that experience. That is that physical experience. I am seeing that everywhere that I go here in the Los Angeles area.
You know, I bet you are a nightmare to shop with, aren't you? I can just see her. Well, hold on a second, Jonathan. Do you notice the point of purchase display here? Because
yes. Yeah, Jonathan, I can actually go into Bed Bath & Beyond with somebody and go, okay, you see that product, that one, oh, that one, that one. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. So, but anyway, that's kind of my take on it. I think that there's going to be a fine balance, but I do believe that human nature is such that we might be surprised by how we react because of what we all have just gone through as far as e-commerce and, you know, the luxury of freaking delivery and a huge carbon footprint made by all of those trucks. Not to mention, you guys, the reverse logistics, the return rate on things that are being bought online and then shipped back because, let me try it on, see if it fits.
Or buy two pair of different sizes, right?
Yeah. Mm. And that is creating this bottleneck, this huge demand for reverse logistics, which is basically what they might do with a lot of the retail space, maybe like Nordstrom's, let's say. They can set up, they did it here in El Segundo, they set up a Nordstrom's rack that is actually, you can return your deliveries there, right? But it's acting kind of as, you know, like a clearing center for their reverse logistics, which is a huge nightmare. If you can just Google it, it's invest in reverse logistics. Sorry.
Yeah, anyway. Amazon does this with Kohl's. You can return an Amazon package to Kohl's and they'll handle it for you.
Same with Whole Foods. I mean, you can return a package that you got from Amazon to Whole Foods. Yeah, they are trying to work through that reverse logistics.
Yeah, but think about Macy's. Think about any D2C business. Think about all of the, you know, the retailers, Target. It becomes there's so much in the pipeline, is what I'm saying. People order, like Jonathan said, 2 and 3 pairs of shoes. They have it delivered. Right? They order from Amazon. They'll order 5 and 6 and 7 things maybe in one day instead of ordering them as a bundle. Right? People are not conscious shoppers. They are just fanatic, you know, I want it now. I got to have it now shoppers. And
well, that's right. But the only reason that I buy 2 and 3 pairs of anything is because the porch pirates around here have to be clothed as well. So let's not forget I am in Chicago.
Well, Wendy, a question for you. Do you think it is incumbent upon retailers and you know, big logistics players like Amazon, Walmart, et cetera, to disincentivize that kind of behavior? Because at scale, it's pretty harmful to the environment and, you know, to, well, a number of things. But what's your take on that?
That's a whole nother podcast. But Scott, here's the thing. I'm a brand seller on Amazon, and I have been for about 6 years, and I've seen their changes that they've made. I've always said for many years that the carbon footprint that Amazon is adding to the world basically is disgusting and nobody's paying attention to it. But now they are. Amazon is paying attention to it, right? They have a thing where all of their vehicles are going to be electric or whatever by a certain date. But that's years from now. I think. Again, I have to go back to the pandemic. I think we as humans have become different humans, and we are looking at things differently. To the point of I just want to point out that, you know, this journey of the shopper, that is really what the point of this conversation is a very Gen Z method of shopping. The Gen Z mentality really is, what do you stand for? Are you sustainable? Who do you sell to? Who represents you? Who's your influencers? And they go through this whole path of understanding a brand before they even will purchase it. And they can't understand why people don't understand that's how they shop. Because we come from the background of we got to have it now kind of thing, right? And that's really the essence of Amazon is really, oh, wait, I'm out of pencils. Oh, I haven't delivered, When you think about what that actually does across the world to the environment, it's frightening. So I think it's a conscious effort for people to talk about that and think about that every time they get lazy. And that's why I say, go to the store, right? Mm-hmm. Walk to the store, get in your car, go to the store, or bundle your shopping or whatever it is. Pick your own grapes, that kind of thing. And not pick your own grapes, but, go to the store and pick your own grapes. But anyway, that's how I feel about it. I have a very strong opinion on all of that. So, but thanks for asking.
Don't get me started on all that, too, because it's just like I'm living in Michigan, where in my county, they have absolutely no recycling options at all. I can't do curbside recycling. I can't go take my stuff to a local recycle center. There's nothing. And it's just like, I think there are bigger problems than Amazon in terms of the ability for us to have a sustainable lifestyle in this country. But that's a whole nother story, like you said, for a whole nother time. It's kind of funny. When I was trying to get ready for this show and I was going through the topics, I kept coming across post-pandemic topics. That last topic was about post-pandemic retail is going to be surging, and it's just like it's going to be very experience-driven. And now there's another topic, post-pandemic brings a flood of television ads. I read an article this week in The Drum that claimed Group M was warning clients that the end of the pandemic will bring a deluge of advertising back to television. First of all, I'm a bit skeptical both about this story and also about the fact that the post-pandemic world is coming soon. But, that's just me. I'm living in a dark world where I can't get my vaccine. But Wendy, what do you believe? What do you believe is actually happening here? Is there going to be a deluge of advertising coming back to television? Is television going to get a second wind, or is that ship already sailed?
So I'm assuming we're talking about regular old TV.
I think we're talking about. I gave it to you because it's just like you have the background in direct response.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, from the standpoint of TV as a whole, I mean, I'm thinking both DTC and going brand wise on television.
Right. There's OTT and there's CTV, TV. There's all sorts of. There's Roku. There's all sorts of things. So I think that is it if it's just network television advertising, general advertising, I can see. And now this is first of all, this article was written in the UK, right?
Yeah, it was a Drum article. It was a Drum article, and Drum's out of the UK, right?
Yeah. So here, I would think that there's going to be a lot of yes. Why wouldn't there be? Because we're kind of getting back into the swing of things. It obviously is going to seem like there's a lot because of in the past, what? I don't know, how you buy media, but it would, number one, it would seem as though we would already know this because the media would already have been bought and booked. Correct. So we would already know. I mean,
this is Group M, is a big media buying conglomerate under WPP. And it's just like, if they're giving a warning, it means that they're seeing a trend of people actively booking ads and that the inventory is quickly running out. So, I mean, I'm wondering how much of that.
The inventory is running out, but it's also being pushed back.
Exactly.
Right. That's the whole thing. That's why I'm so skeptical. I mean, it's just like people are buying ads, but I don't know that they're actually going to run them.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's kind of stupid.
Hey, we just found a name for the show, guys. There it is. Well, that's kind of stupid.
But I mean, come on. Why would they buy them if they're not going to run them?
Admit hello. That was perfect.
Well, I mean, they're going to run them, but are they going to run them in a deluge, right now? I mean, you reserve your ad space, but if you choose to get out of that contract, you've still paid your money. You just have make goods, or you're pushing your ads back later in the year or to the next year. And
it's snowballing. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Well, why wouldn't you be running it when people are still at home?
Which is what I'm saying. They're saying post-pandemic world is going to be a flood of TV advertising, and I'm just like, that's the last thing I want to do when I have my shots and I'm able to get out of the house. I don't want to sit at home watching TV.
Well, let's not forget, guys, also that whenever this post-pandemic is, God only knows. But if it's this summer, that's when all the media buys tank, particularly for television, because people are outside.
People aren't watching television because they're outside.
Exactly. Yeah. So, post-pandemic crunch, maybe I'm the only one who's this cynical, but when I was reading that particular article and having worked within the WPP organization, that was intentional. If the people aren't catching that,
to quote Biden, under the former guy.
Yes, under the former guy who ignored me for every meeting I tried to schedule with him. Did I say that? Okay, so, but the thing about it is that post-pandemic is going to right now theoretically be the summer when nobody's watching TV. And that doesn't make any sense that people are – it looked to me when I was reading that article, I thought, wow, this sounds like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Hurry up, guys. Get your media buy through us because we're in the know here.
Exactly.
That's exactly the way I read it. And I'm glad – thank you. I'm glad that I'm not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. Because it none of it kind of makes sense. Even when you're just looking at Bob's question, which I'm looking at on the screen right now, it's like, well, come on.
Well, Bob doesn't.
It doesn't nothing makes sense about it. So they've basically got a lot of media they probably want to move. And so they kind of
exactly. Hey, everybody's abandoning us. You better hurry up because there's not much there's only so much time left. It's an end of year sale by Group M.
The scarcity rule.
I'd love to get Lisa's opinion on this, mainly from the perspective of where money should be spent. Yes, podcasting, of course, but I mean, other places where it can be spent. Where would you put your money at this point? Is it television? Is there going to be a big surge in demand for it, or is there other places that the money can be better spent?
I think my gut tells me is that everyone thinks that TV's the holy grail. Oh my gosh, we do podcasts, we do radio, we do banner ads, everywhere else in the world, social media ads, but everybody wants to be on TV. So I think what they're trying to do is really drum up that, hey, TV's going to be going again. Everyone needs to get their goods out and advertise, because you got to remember, everybody cut their budgets last year and into the first part of this year. So I think there will be a boom. Everyone thinks, TV's where it's at, but I think you're going to see it across everything. I think you're going to see brands realizing that they need to be more than on TV. We're so fragmented on how we consume our content anyways. So I think TV will definitely get, hit, and they'll get a surplus of commercial money because everybody wants to be there. But I'm really hoping it kind of goes across the board and everybody starts to see more in advertising. So this doesn't surprise me. And I agree with everyone. I don't know who's going to really be watching TV because we're all going to be out and about. But I do see brands starting to look around saying, hey, we need to advertise. And TV has always been their first choice of where to go. So I have a feeling we will see, that pick up. But I'm hoping it's dispersed a little bit more across other mediums.
And we're all going to be out and about shopping.
Yeah. We can always hope. Oh, man. Well, I want to get to the last topic before we run out of time. There's an article in Inc. On the Inc. website, I believe. I don't know if they even do a magazine anymore, but there's an article in Inc. that makes the case that Facebook is not mad at Apple just over the potential revenue loss inherent in iOS 14's notifications that will be telling people, how basically Facebook is using the data for that particular well, you know what iOS 14 is all about. I mean, it's basically has a feature that's allowing people to know when the company that they're accessing or the website they're accessing is taking advantage of their data and where they're going to be using it, etc. They're not mad about the revenue loss there per se, but rather it's over the need for transparency about exactly what they're doing with the data. And Jonathan, what are your thoughts here? I mean, is this the case? I mean, is Facebook more worried about transparency to the consumer, about where they're using the data, how they're using the data, and all the questions that's going to inspire? Or is this purely a revenue concern in terms of people locking themselves out of that and no longer being able to be tracked by the Facebook app.
Yeah, I think saving this question for the most important one of the show, saving it for last was really smart on your part, Bob.
I've talked about this every single week for months on end. It's time for me to like kind of relegate it to the fourth slot every week. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, anytime, you know how I feel about tracking. Okay, so to me, that is a load of garbage. So, and I'm more than willing to, I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say about this as well. But look, the truth of the matter is the answer always comes down to money, as far as I'm concerned. Because if I saw the statistic in that particular article that said 47% are likely to opt out of tracking if given the question or the opportunity to opt out, right? And I think it's way higher than that. If I walk down the street right now I'm in Chicago, so I'd probably get shot. But if I walked down the street right now and asked anybody, I bet you we would get 100% of the people if I said, hey, how would you like to not have your internet activity tracked? Would you like that or would you not like that? Nobody wants to be tracked, okay? And frankly, we're all marketers. So we have a different idea of what tracking does. Do we want to help? Do we want to supersede? Do we want to block? Well, that's up to our internal minds and our discipline, right? So I think it's ridiculous. I think the only reason that Facebook would have a problem is because they're going to lose data and lose people because of that. Because let's face it, anybody, if given the opportunity to answer that question, is going to say, yeah, I don't want to be tracked, because they're not thinking about this particular website. They're not thinking about cross-sell, upsell, personalized ads, things of that nature. They're thinking, oh my God, what are you seeing on my computer? That's what the average consumer is thinking, in my opinion.
Does everybody agree here? I mean, Scott, what do you think here? I mean, is this fight purely about money, or is it about transparency too? Because transparency translates into dollars as well. If you know about what Facebook's doing with your data and you have a clear understanding of when they're accessing that data and when they're accessing your location, etc., does that drive you off the site and eventually lose them that edge in terms of audience and potentially affect revenue in a catastrophic way down the line?
Well, I think Jonathan's point about the average consumer, they're not that well informed at a detailed level to be able to make this a real issue. But, of course, it's always about money. But, Facebook has been less than transparent since its very beginnings. We've seen the chat messages that Zuckerberg shared in his Harvard dorm room about being able to fool people and take their data because they, quote unquote, trust him.
That's right. And Scott, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to add to that. It wasn't that long ago. It was either in 2019 or 2020, and you can look this up. Facebook's own attorneys said that the public doesn't have a right to privacy when it comes to internet usage. Do a search for that. And that's exactly how they feel. So this does only come down to money, in my opinion. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I think you make the point very succinctly, Jonathan. I mean,
wow,
we know.
Dateline Scott likes me. This is awesome. Scott, just keep talking, man. I love it.
Next week, we'll be back with Jonathan talking about trust and transparency.
There's been a murder in Chicago.
But no, I think that sums it up well. Facebook is always concerned about money, period, and remaining the dominant force. And it will do anything it can to topple its competitors. I mean, just this last week at that farce of a hearing in Congress, Zuckerberg, basically threw the rest of the industry under the bus and implored Congress to look at Section 230 in a way that would benefit only Facebook. So Facebook cares about Facebook. That's it. It doesn't care about its consumers. It cares about maintaining power.
So Facebook cares about, Zuckerberg cares about Facebook. Bezos cares about Amazon. What else matters in the world? Anything?
Well, Dolly Parton cares about COVID, so that's the only thing that I can.
Oh, okay, good.
Not
so
every
you got
rich
that
people.
going for you.
You got
There
that.
you go.
All right. Well, it's time for this week's Fair, Fail, Foul. But before we get to that segment of the show, I do want to take this quick opportunity to thank my guests again and allow them to each do a shameless plug. Starting with that voice you just heard, Wendy Cooper. You can find her at wendycooper.com. That's the home for her podcasts and all her information, personal information. You also have C Spot Run, which is the letter C, spotrun.com, which is the home of her production studio, where she is the creative director and the founder of this direct response agency. Tell us what's going on in your world, Wendy. What would you like to promote?
Thank you, Bob. You just did an excellent job. I would like to promote just about nothing. Okay, so I would actually like to promote the fact that I do have 2 clubs on Clubhouse that I do want to promote because they're important to me. One is called Concept to Consumer, and that is a new club I formed where it kind of goes along with how I formed my company many years ago, where I found that people who were trying to bring their products to market didn't know the first thing about the back end, the front end, the in between, and everything else. They just thought a commercial was the answer to all their problems, and thus, my agency formed. So, Concept to Consumer Club, I am inviting anyone who is on Clubhouse. If you need an invite, please come, because that is the place where it's a safe place for everyone that works between the concept and to the consumer and beyond to gather and lend their wisdom and share advice, and then have the entrepreneurs and people like that come in into the rooms and learn from us as we collaborate. And then my other club is actually 60 something, and it's Live, Love, and Laugh. And I'm 60. I was 66 on Saturday, and I am so grateful for my life, and I celebrate it every day, and I want to do the same for everyone else. So that is a club where we 60 somethings get together, and we don't talk about menopause or anything like that. We just, we kind of, it's like Cheers on Clubhouse 30 years later. So anyway, that's it. And you can listen to my podcast, The Five, with me, Wendy Cooper. That is where I am myself, and it's only about 5 to 7 minutes, and you can find that anywhere. And my the Wendy Cooper Show, that is called Story Views now, where I actually have interviews with people, and then I create these stories. You can even listen to one with the wonderful Mr. Bob Norp. So anyway, they're everywhere you get your podcasts. Thanks, Bob.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And Wendy is an inspiration in a lot of ways, so you definitely want to check out her content. Next up, we have Lisa Laporte, who also has a lot of content at twit.tv. That's where she is the CEO, running the business for a network of tech podcasts. That's phenomenal. And let me tell you, if you haven't listened to them, you have to go there. You have to check it out. Lisa, do you have anything you want to promote?
Well, you just promoted Twit TV for me, so if you are interested in tech, please go there. And I've recently joined a nonprofit group called Latina Geeks. It's promoting Latina women into tech and helping them find jobs, and I'd like to give them a little shout out.
Fantastic, and congratulations, you just did that, so that's great.
Yep, there we go.
Now, next we have Scott Monty. You can find him at scottmonty.com. That's the home of Scott Monty Strategies, which is his company. He is a consultant. He is a keynote speaker. He is a writer. He is I was going to say James Bond. No, it's a Sherlock Holmes fanatic. So tell us what's going on in your world, Scott, before I screw this up anymore.
Oh, you're doing just fine, Bob. Well, I have been experimenting with another audio app called Fireside Chat. Mark Cuban is backing it. And I've been doing a show every week there called Timeless Leadership, where I pick one of the virtues of leadership and I find someone who either represents that or has written about it. And I interview them interactively with the audience on Fireside Chat. So you can find me at firesidechat.com/Scott Monty. And I am recording all of those chats and turning them into a podcast for the premium subscribers of the Timeless and Timely newsletter, which you can get at scottmonty.com if you haven't gotten enough of the dulcet Dateline tones.
Every time I hear the phrase fireside chat, I picture, you with a pipe sitting there in a smoker's jacket. You got a dog at your heel.
Unfortunately, the pipe is small and metal. It's weird. Okay, all right.
And last but not least is that voice, Jonathan Sackett. You can find him at grkfresh.com. That's the home of GRK Fresh Greek. his restaurant chain there he is a part owner. You can also go to Mashburn Enterprises and find out more about the bigger company that he's part of that owns this GRK Fresh Creek. But tell us, what's going on in your world, Jonathan? What would you like to promote?
First of all and foremost, I would always like to promote this show. I love Bob. He's one of my dearest friends. I think it's important. I get people around the world contacting me as well as students and everything else. So I'm a fan of the show. Please listen. Please share. I would also add, I got to tell you guys, this is like the dream team. You guys, I would promote my fellow cohorts here in anything that they're doing. These guys are great. So please follow them. And if they're telling you, if they're helping educate you, if they're giving you advice, this is the team to listen to. So I'm a big fan of everybody on the show. So thank you. Follow me on Twitter, Jonathan Sackett. The only other thing that I would add is we've got some big news coming out about a whole bunch of stuff. I won't tire us out with that, but I will say we've got a lot. We've got 5-star restaurants launching. We've got in retail launching. There's a lot going on. I'm super, super excited about the future here. And believe it or not, while other restaurants are dying, we're buying. And the last thing I would add is only because one of my partners on this show just mentioned it. I've got a meeting with NBC on Wednesday afternoon, and they're talking about doing a show with Jamal where he helps to fund minority-based tech companies and things like that. So anybody from anywhere who has an idea can get launched through Jamal. So there's a lot of really neat things going on. So I hope I can network with this group and see about making some stuff happen. Yeah,
that sounds really exciting. It sounds like it would be a really interesting show. And Jamal is such a great media celeb. He does a lot of great content. So
he is, and the scholarships he does and the things. Look, it's a shame to call him a former NBA player because they don't necessarily have the best reputation, but Jamal does, and he's got a heart of gold. So for being a 9-foot giant, his heart's bigger than his height.
Awesome. That sounds fantastic. Good luck with that. And as for me, for more information about me or the show, visit thebeancast.com. There you can find a complete show archive. You can find out how to consult with me. And of course, you can find how to advertise on this program. We would love your ads. So check it all out at thebeancast.com. And now it is time for this week's Fair, Fail, Foul, a rundown of the best and worst of advertising, marketing, and public relations from the last week. First up, our fair of the week, I'm going to give to Dove. Wendy, Dove offered to pay modeling fees if other brands book their diverse models, because the Dove campaign is based on really showing a diverse look at beauty. And they have a stable of models that they've gone to, and now they're giving them references to other brands and saying, if you use our talent, we will pay for the modeling fees because that's how much we believe in this. I think it's a great brand message. It's great socially. It is powerful. I think it's going to be a really effective way to kind of extend the value of this really successful campaign that they've had for some time. What do you think?
I think it's wonderful. To me, it seems as though it's kind of like a subset of Dove, right? They kind of set up like this little modeling agency. It kind of like, but it's for free for other brands, so they can bring more diverse characters and people in. I think it's beautiful. I think what Dove does, bravo, because I have this thing about, being 60 in my 60s. And being one of those 60 is the new 40 people. I don't believe that anybody targets and markets to me the right way. And I just want to make commercials that, are talking to me and not like me with the, the sweater over my shoulders going to the bingo parlor on Thursday nights. Cause
no, it's a shawl.
It's a shawl. It's a shawl. My shawl.
Come on.
Right, Jonathan.
You know that.
I don't see Wendy wearing a sweater over her shirt either.
I don't see Wendy taking any crap from anybody. That's the way I see Wendy.
That too.
I've met Wendy. I've met Wendy in person before. Wendy is definitely somebody you'd look at and you say, "God, she's in her 50s, right?" I mean, it's just like she just lives her life she lives her.
Bob, say 40s. Say 40s.
So 40s.
I don't really. I'm 66 and I am very proud of it because I'm happy to be here. But in the advertising and marketing world, it's when you talk to us, this cohort of people, we're like really sick of being kind of put into this box of that's what we're like. We all have silver hair and, wear our lavender cardigan, kind of thing. So
well,
anyway.
Bob, I'm 97, so I've got her beat.
Well, the fail for this week I'm going to give to Google. They're getting rid of the cookie. We've been talking about it on the show for a number of weeks. But they were putting their eggs in the basket of FLoC, which is called Federated Learning of Cohorts, where everybody's contributing to the total pool and understanding of the consumer. And it was a better way, they felt, to track the consumer, less likely to be invasive in the browsing experience. The trouble is, Jonathan, that they just found out that FLoC is not going to be GDRP compliant. I am really lousy.
Bob, you're having trouble with the whole GD thing.
The acronyms today are really not working for me. I don't know what's going on. But anyway, Jonathan, what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think... how come I sound so negative tonight? Do I sound negative?
No.
Damn. I don't know. I mean, look, the thing about it is years ago, one of my first jobs was working for my dad. My dad did heating and air conditioning, and he had me I was a kid, I was doing S-slips and drives. Okay, it basically holds the ductwork together. So I did them all the wrong measurement, and I'll never forget my dad coming to me, and he goes, "Man, did you measure these?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Measure twice, cut once." And when I read about that, I thought, Google, measure twice, cut once, please.
And I just figured
opposite.
I just figured out.
Exactly.
I just figured out it's GDPR. So I've got this entirely wrong written everywhere. That's why I was so confused. Anyway, so there you have it. Well, the foul for this week I'm going to give to the situation that Apple finds themselves in. I'm not going to necessarily ding Apple on this, Lisa, but Apple was fined by Brazil for selling iPhones without including chargers. And now, the reason that they removed the chargers from the boxes is not only to be more environmentally friendly and also to save money on packaging and all the things that don't necessarily get used when you send out one of these iPhones, but also because they're responding to a situation in Europe where a lot of the EU countries were saying that you weren't allowed to do that you couldn't put in chargers because you already have chargers, and they didn't want wasteful chargers being constantly flooding the market and creating more plastic waste in the dumps. So how does Apple win here? They're getting fined in Brazil for doing exactly what they need to do to not get fined in Europe.
Well, but they only paid $2 million. Please, that's chump change for Apple. I personally think it should be optional. I have to admit, when I got my new iPhone and it was missing, I kind of went, oh, I needed a new cord because my cat chewed through mine. So I didn't like that it wasn't optional, because to me, I didn't see a big savings in my price that they excluded it. But I'm also for, the economy. So I think it should be optional if there's countries that have issues with the fact that they're not including it. I think they should consider making it, optional, but they weren't fined that bad.
Yeah,
I mean,
$2 million.
It was really little.
Yeah, I know $2 million for $1 trillion company is not exactly anything more than a slap on the wrist, but whatever.
Yeah, but I think if they made it optional, that would be a really good way to go. Like, hey, if you need a cord, because it may be your like 6th iPhone, and your cord finally gave out. So I just think if they make it optional, like, hey, you need a charger, click here, and then you get the charger.
And
so.
Not only did you answer the question, you provided a solution, and I think that's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant.
Well, they do.
That's a compliment from the negative guy.
Yeah, he's not being negative
stay out of
anymore.
This, Dateline.
But no, I agree. I personally came up with that when I got my last iPhone, because I wanted the charger. I'm like, it should be optional. So I just think it's
interesting because you also look at the company when it's not in there. You're thinking, you cheap bastards, right?
Yeah.
Right away, you're like, oh, now they're just trying to get me.
Kind of a little when it comes to Apple, because they're rolling in it, and they're like, hey, we're going to now charge $800 more, but you're not getting a charger.
And you,
well, I just want to point out that they do have the option to get the charger. It costs $40, so go ahead and buy your own charger.
And to me, that should not be. It should be, if you need a charger, it's included. If you don't, it's not, and it shouldn't matter on the price. It should be part of the accessory.
You guys, do you think that Apple did this on purpose? Okay, you know how they changed so that...
I'm negative. I'm negative. I think they did. I think they're laughing at us.
No, not that. No, listen. You know how when they started to make the new the earphones, the headphones, your earbuds, when you plug it into the phone, they changed it from the regular audio plug to the charger plug, and then they gave you that little dongle thing that you could use to put on the end, right? That pissed me off more than anything in the entire world. Right. I can't freaking charge my phone and listen to my headphones at the same time. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I refuse because I'm the bitch consumer.
Wow. We've got another show coming up, everybody.
To buy a charger, like one of those charger things from Apple because of that reason. So I suffer, but I refuse to give them my money because I just don't dig it. I don't dig your
you just throw your shawl over your shoulder and say, "Forget this."
I think we just came
to the store and I sit there.
We just came up with a new show for Lisa's network. We can call it The Bitch Consumer, starring Wendy Cooper. It should be interesting.
Beautiful.
And you've got your show title, Bob.
I have so many show titles.
Too. Look, we are a self-contained unit, my friends.
Well, have a suggestion for this list or just want to discuss it? Comment online. Use the hashtag #FairFailFoul. That's #FairFailFoul. And that does it for this week's show. If you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, visit our website at thebeancast.com and click on the subscribe link. If you're an Apple Podcast listener, we've also provided a direct link to our listing there, or just search for the BeanCast in the podcast directory on the Apple Podcasts app. And whichever podcast directory you use, when you subscribe, please leave us a review. Got a comment? Have a question? We'd love to hear from you. Just send your emails to beancast@gmail.com. Opening theme was performed by Joe Seibel. Closing theme by C. Jax. Thanks for listening. I'm Bob Norp. We'll be back again next week. Hope you'll join us then.
You know what I mean? It's like if it's, you know what I mean? I don't know, man. It's just like, okay, it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like totally like that. It's like, I don't know, like if it's, you know, it's like, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's just like kind of, it just seems like it's just like almost exactly. It's like exactly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Exactly.
Cool beans.